We've experienced many changes in 2020, changes in how we relate to friends and family, to our jobs, how we communicate, how we shop, how we exercise. We have been exposed this past year to undeniably stark disparities in how Americans of different races, regions, and economic status experience life in our complex society, including how vulnerable we are to police violence or to infectious disease, and how open we are to protective distancing or to vaccination. As 2020 draws to a close, the theme of abnormality just won't quit. We now have an abnormal transition from one president to another, with the legitimacy of the electoral process under assault and an uncertain political future awaiting us in Washington. That is the subject of this month's Global Connections, Challenges Facing Washington in the Coming Year. You described to me a system of blue slips that operated when you first entered the Senate. It's a system that I gather is being driven to extinction, or is it extinct already? But
well, it is extinct, I believe. This is a little complicated, but bear with me, everybody, because this is incredibly important. You know how Trump in one of the debates said, I've had 300 judges, federal judges, right, for district and circuit courts, and then 3 the Supreme Court. And he said, shame on Obama for leaving so many seats open. Well, Obama didn't leave them open. It was the Republicans in the Senate who stopped him from confirming anyone because they would not turn in their blue slips. Now, this is what the blue slip is. If the president, say, nominates a judge for a circuit court that is your state's spot in that court, you had, until Trump, you had a blue slip, which means it was just the tradition of the Senate for over 100 years that if you withheld your blue slip, you would not allow that judge to be confirmed, and that was respected.
Even though in Minnesota, even though in your case the 2 senators, you and Amy Klobuchar, were both Democrats, you would be extended that courtesy as senators.
Absolutely, and on my judge on the 8th Circuit was Strauss, was a very, very, he clerked with Clarence Thomas, and he had been a member of, he'd been on the Minnesota Supreme Court. He had been on the short list from the Federalist Society for the Supreme Court, the first one. I wasn't going to hand in my blue slip. And they basically, Grassley, and I think it was McConnell and McGahn, said, no, we're not going to honor the blue slip anymore. And again, this has been 100 years. And the reason so many vacancies were there were senators like Cruz and Cornyn and McConnell and others had just wouldn't turn in their blue slip. So all these vacancies were ready to be filled. And what this does is ruin the federal courts, because it used to be, and what I was ready to do was when Don McGahn called me and said, I want Strauss,
McGahn, the White House counsel, Don McGahn.
White House counsel, sorry. When he calls me up and says, I want to nominate Strauss, I said, no. I know. Oh, just, talk to him, read his stuff. Okay. And I did. Nice guy, the judge was. But I said, no, not handing in the blue slip, and then they took it away on this judge. And so what I wanted to do was say, I'll go back to Minnesota and we will get very well respected judges and lawyers in Minnesota to find a conservative Republican judge who is very well respected by everyone. And that's what had been happening on both sides, whether it was a Republican president or a Democratic president. That was the process. And because of that, the federal judiciary was respected.
Has it been different? I mean, is there a different sense of what the media, how the media is regarded, what its mission is? How different has this been in the Trump years?
Well, it's different in lots of different ways. First of all, you see that a substantial portion of the population simply doesn't trust what the mainstream media says. Secondly, you see that the administration is often at war with not just journalism, but with facts. It just calls us liars. And says everything is fake news. If it's a fact that they don't like, they call it fake news. By the same token, we now say things we never would have said before. We don't say the president lied, but we come very close. If you read the front pages of the newspapers, we have finally been, I think, driven into a corner where we are required to say the president asserted without evidence, or the president again made baseless allegations, or things like that I never came out of my mouth before, and I never saw on the front page of the New York Times or the Washington Post before. And so the entire relationship is degraded in that way. And I don't have a solution. I don't want to compare Trump to Hitler, but the press was criticized for not sort of saying the truth about what Hitler was doing. And we were criticized after the 2016 election for not being tough enough on Trump. So now I think our experience is that when we are tough on Trump in terms of the facts that he's presenting or the lack of facts, we end up looking like we're screeching and playing into his narrative that we're liars. So it's very frustrating.
I hate to just throw cold water on every positive thing happening out there. When we wrote the book, It's Even Worse Than It Looks. A great Hanukkah gift, by the way, still.
And a stocking stuffer, we should say.
Or Kwanzaa, if anybody is listening, or Festivus, whatever it might be. I use the term tribalism. We have polarization, but our politics have become tribal. And what we know out there is that while 76% of Republicans right now believe the election was rigged and was stolen, a vast majority of Republicans also believe at this point that COVID is either a hoax or just some minor thing that we don't need to worry about, easier even to deal with than the flu. We even have cases in South Dakota where, because you have a governor joining with the president in downplaying COVID, not putting in any restrictions, the social distancing or masks, we have a higher death rate in South Dakota per capita than anywhere in the world. And I saw today, yet again, a nurse in an intensive care ward saying people who are dying continue to say to her, it's a hoax. So we have headwinds here that don't occur in many other countries that are going to make a real challenge for Joe Biden. When Joe Biden as president says, all of us need to wear masks for 100 days, we need to continue to social distance, we may need to shut things down a little bit further to get through this next wave, a large share of the country may either say no or say it's our freedom to engage in civil disobedience, or, as we've seen in Michigan and elsewhere, something that is far less than civil. So the challenges are very great, but if we can get through it with the vaccines, and I hope with rapid, cheap testing that people can do at home, or so they can go into restaurants where you can get the results within 20 minutes and have them be pretty accurate. And that may be on the way. We can get this economy moving later in 2021 and maybe be back on a very positive path. But it's going to be a rocky and turbulent road. That's the reality.
Al Franken, Nina Totenberg, and Norm Ornstein, thanks to all three of you for
Thank you.
Part in this discussion. Join us next month, Wednesday, January 13th at 4 p.m. Our topic will be the year of the vaccine, with, among other medical experts, Dr. Joshua Schwartz of the Yale School of Public Health. I'm Robert Siegel, and this has been Global Connections, Navigating the New Abnormal. See you next month. Stay healthy and stay safe.